Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
In November 2025, President Donald Trump made a big announcement. He said his government would give money to most Americans. Each person would get at least $2,000. This money, he explained, would come from special taxes called tariffs. Tariffs are placed on goods from other countries. President Trump shared this news on a social media platform. He stated that the United States was collecting trillions of dollars from these tariffs. He promised to use this money to pay down the country's large debt, which he called $37 trillion. Then, a part of it would go directly to citizens. However, he also said that people with high incomes would not receive the payment. This was a new and big economic idea, and it was controversial. President Trump had talked about a similar plan before, but this time the promise was much clearer and more public. This idea quickly captured everyone's attention. Many people wondered if they would get this money. They wanted to know when and how the checks would arrive. This promise of free money, funded by taxes on foreign goods, started a very important national conversation. It made people think about how the government gets money and how it might share wealth. This first chapter introduces this significant and widely discussed plan. 2. The Big Promise. President Donald Trump made a big promise on his social media platform, Truth Social. On November 9, 2025, he announced a new economic plan. He said his government would give at least $2,000 to most American citizens. This money would be a direct payment or dividend from the government to its people. It was an exciting idea for many across the country. The core of this promise was straightforward. The money would come from tariffs. Tariffs are special taxes that the U.S. government puts on goods coming from other countries. President Trump explained that the United States was collecting significant revenue from these tariffs. He believed this money, which he said amounted to trillions of dollars, should be used to pay citizens directly, sharing the wealth generated by his trade policies. President Trump also stated who would receive this payment and who would not. He made it clear that high-income people would not get the $2,000. However, he did not define what high income meant. No specific dollar amount or income threshold was given. This lack of clarity left many Americans wondering if they would be eligible for the money, creating much uncertainty about the plan. Beyond who would qualify, many other important details about the plan remained unclear. For instance, President Trump did not provide a timeline, so no one knew when these payments might start. Even the exact way the money would be given out was uncertain. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent later suggested that the payments might not be direct checks. He mentioned possibilities like tax cuts, such as removing taxes on tips, overtime pay, or Social Security benefits. Lastly, for the plan to become real, it needed approval from the U.S. Congress. Giving money directly to millions of citizens is a major government action. New laws would be required to make it official and legal. Without Congress passing such laws, the entire idea could not move forward. So, while the promise was big, many crucial questions about its rules, timing, and how it would actually work were still unanswered. 3. The money question. President Donald Trump promised to give many Americans $2,000. He said this money would come from tariffs, which are taxes on goods from other countries. The big question was, how much money does the government actually collect from these tariffs, and how much would it cost to send checks to millions of people? This was the core of the money question. In the 2025 fiscal year, the U.S. government collected about $195 billion from customs duties. This money came from tariffs. Over that year, these collections grew steadily. By the end of October 2025, the total money from tariffs reached approximately $309.2 billion. These numbers show how much cash was coming into the government from this source. Now, let's look at the estimated cost of sending out the checks. President Trump stated that people with high incomes would not receive the money. If we assume about 150 million adults would qualify for the $2,000 payment, the total cost for one single round of payments would be around $300 billion. Other groups, like the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, made even higher estimates. They suggested that a round of payments could cost up to $600 billion, depending on the exact rules for who gets the money. When we compare the money coming in from tariffs to the money that would go out for the checks, a clear financial challenge appears. If the government collects about $309.2 billion annually, and the checks cost $300 billion, then almost all the collected money would be used up. Some studies showed that the cost of these payments could be nearly twice the amount of money collected from tariffs in a single year. This means the income from tariffs might not be enough to cover the payments. President Trump also said that the government would use money from tariffs to help pay down the national debt. The United States has a very large national debt, currently around $37 trillion. However, if almost all the tariff money goes towards the $2,000 checks, then there would be little or no money left to reduce this huge debt. This makes it difficult to achieve both important goals at the same time: give money to citizens and also reduce the country's debt. The financial numbers highlight a significant challenge in funding both promises fully and consistently. 4. Will it make things more expensive? Chapter 4 looks at a big question. Will the promise of money make things more expensive for everyone? First, we need to understand how tariffs work. Tariffs are special taxes on goods that come from other countries. When these taxes are put in place, the companies that bring these goods into America often have to pay more. To cover these higher costs, these companies usually raise the prices of their products. This means that many everyday items you buy, like clothes, electronics, or even some types of food, could start costing more in stores. Economists who study how money works have been watching this closely. They say that the tariffs that President Donald Trump's administration started in early 2025 have already made prices go up a little. For example, experts from the Federal Reserve and Bank of America have noted that tariffs have clearly pushed consumer prices higher. By the end of 2025, people in America had paid many billions of dollars in extra costs due to these tariffs. This happened because companies passed their tariff expenses directly to customers instead of paying them themselves. This creates a strange situation. Citizens pay more for goods because of tariffs, and at the same time, they are promised money from those same tariffs. Now, let's think about giving many millions of people $2,000. If a large number of people suddenly have more money, they will likely want to buy more things. When many people want to buy more goods, but there is not a big increase in the number of goods available, prices tend to go up. This is what economists call inflation. Many economists worry about this effect. They explain that if the economy is already strong and people are working, adding a lot of extra money into everyone's hands could make prices rise too quickly. This could mean that the money people receive, like the $2,000 check, might not buy as much as they expect. If prices for groceries, gas, and other necessities climb higher, the benefit of the extra money could become smaller. Some experts believe that the higher prices caused by tariffs, combined with the new demand from people spending their dividend checks, could cancel out much of the good that the $2,000 was supposed to do. So, even with the extra money, families might not feel richer because their daily living costs become much higher. This makes the question of inflation very important for the plan. 5. Has this been done before? Many people wondered if President Donald Trump's idea of giving money to citizens was new. Had the U.S. government done something like this before? Two main examples often come to mind: the Alaska Permanent Fund and the COVID-19 stimulus checks. However, this new plan is quite different. First, consider Alaska. For over 40 years, Alaska has given money to its residents through the Alaska Permanent Fund Dividend, PFD. It started in 1982. This money comes from oil sales in the state. Every year, eligible residents get a payment. This is the closest U.S. example of sharing natural resource money directly with people. But there are big differences. The Alaska Fund pays out about 5% of its total money each year. The main part stays invested. Also, to get the money, you must live in Alaska for at least 12 months. It is for long-term residents, not all U.S. citizens. The fund is protected by Alaska's Constitution, helping keep it out of daily political fights. So, while it gives money to people, it is not the same as President Trump's new plan, which uses tariff money for many Americans and has a different structure. Next, people might recall the stimulus checks from the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2020 and 2021, the U.S. government sent money to many Americans. These checks helped when many businesses were closed and jobs were lost. The economy was in a bad state. These payments replaced lost income and kept the economy going during a hard time. They were temporary. Congress approved them, saying who would get them and when. This money was paid for by the government spending more than it collected, which is called deficit spending. President Trump's new plan comes at a different time. Now, in 2025, the U.S. economy is not in a deep crisis like during the pandemic. Unemployment is low, and the stock market is doing well. Worries about prices going up, called inflation, exist. The new plan says the money will come from tariffs, not from borrowing more. This means the situation for the $2,000 checks is very different from the COVID-19 stimulus. The old checks were for a crisis. The new plan is for a different economic situation, and its source of money is also different. These past examples show that giving money directly to citizens has happened before. But the reasons, rules, and money source make President Trump's proposed payments a unique idea for the U.S. federal government. It is not just a repeat of what has been done in the past. 6. A look around the world. When we think about giving money from national resources to citizens, many countries around the world have natural wealth, like oil. They must decide how to use this money. Some have found different ways to manage this wealth for their people. Norway is a good example. This country has a lot of oil and gas. Instead of giving money directly to its people, Norway created a very large savings fund. It is called the Government Pension Fund Global. This fund takes money from oil and gas sales and invests it. The government uses a small part of its earnings each year to help pay for public services. This means better health care, education, and other benefits for everyone. Norway chose this way so the money lasts for many years and helps the whole country, not just one generation. Norway did not give money directly to its citizens. This was a careful choice. Leaders there worried that direct payments could create problems. For example, people might expect money every year, even if resource prices go down. This could make it hard for the government to plan its budget. They also feared that giving out large sums of money could cause prices to rise, making everything more expensive. This is called inflation, and it could make the payments less helpful. Around the world, many other countries also share wealth from their resources, but most do not give money directly to people. For example, countries like Colombia use resource money to help local governments or for special projects. Other countries might use formulas based on population to share funds among regions. These governments want to ensure the money is used in a stable way. They want to avoid unstable budgets if resource prices change. They also want to save money for future generations, not spend it all now. So, when we look at the world, we see that most countries handle their national wealth carefully. They often put it into large funds or use it for public services. They usually choose not to give direct payments. This is because they want to keep their economy strong for a long time and ensure the money helps everyone steadily, avoiding higher prices. 7. Big problems to solve. President Donald Trump's promise of $2,000 checks sounded good to many people. But for the plan to actually happen, there were two very big problems. These problems could stop the whole idea before it even started. The first big problem was the U.S. Congress. In the American government, all money collected from taxes, like tariffs, goes into a central account. This is called the U.S. Treasury. Only Congress has the power to decide how this money is spent. This power is known as the power of the purse. For President Trump to send $2,000 checks to citizens, Congress would need to agree and pass a new law. Congress did this for the stimulus payments during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 and 2021. However, for this new tariff dividend plan, Congress had not yet approved such a law. National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett clearly stated that Congress's approval would be necessary for the payments to go out. The second big problem was even more serious. It concerned the tariffs themselves, which were supposed to fund the checks. Tariffs are taxes on goods imported from other countries. President Trump had imposed many of these tariffs. But the legality of these tariffs was being questioned. The U.S. Supreme Court, the highest court in the country, was looking into this issue. On November 5, 2025, the Supreme Court heard arguments about whether the president had the constitutional authority to put these wide-ranging tariffs in place. Lower courts had already ruled that many of President Trump's tariffs were illegal, saying he had used too much executive power. If the Supreme Court agreed with these lower court decisions, it would create a huge challenge for the dividend plan. The court could declare the tariffs unlawful. If this happened, the government might be forced to refund billions of dollars it had already collected from these tariffs. This would mean there would be no money left to pay for the $2,000 checks. Experts suggested that if the tariffs were struck down, it could take many years for the government to find enough new tariff revenue to cover the cost of such a large dividend program. So, these two major hurdles, getting Congress to approve the plan and waiting for the Supreme Court's decision on the tariff's legality, were critical. Either one of these problems could completely stop the entire idea of the $2,000 tariff checks. The exciting promise faced very real and serious challenges that needed to be solved first. 8. What does it all mean? President Donald Trump made an exciting promise, a payment of $2,000 for many Americans. This money was said to come from taxes on foreign goods, called tariffs. The idea captured a lot of attention, making many people hopeful about getting direct financial help from the government. It felt like citizens would become shareholders in the nation's trade earnings. This popular appeal was a strong part of the plan. However, this big promise came with serious questions and challenges. One main question was about the money itself. The government collected hundreds of billions of dollars from tariffs by late 2025. But paying $2,000 to millions of eligible Americans could cost a similar amount or even more for just one round of payments. This meant it might be hard to pay both the dividends and reduce the national debt, which President Trump also wanted to do. Another big worry was inflation. Tariffs can make imported goods more expensive for consumers. If people also received extra money and spent it, this could cause prices for all goods to rise even more. This situation, where money loses value because prices go up, is called inflation. Economists worried that higher prices could make the $2,000 payment less helpful, perhaps canceling out its benefits for families. Legal and government approval were also major problems. For the plan to work, the U.S. Congress would need to pass a new law to allow the payments. Congress holds the power to decide how government money is spent. Also, the tariffs themselves were facing a legal challenge in the Supreme Court. If the court decided that the tariffs were not legal, the government might have to give back billions of dollars already collected. This could remove the source of money for the dividend plan entirely. So, what does this all mean for the future? The idea of direct payments to citizens from tariffs has a strong appeal and could offer some families a needed boost. But there are clear risks. There might not be enough money. Prices could increase, and legal issues could stop the whole plan. It is a big, complex idea with both potential benefits and serious challenges ahead. What do you think about this plan? Do you believe the benefits are greater than the risks, or vice versa?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.